Good morning, William. Thanks for your purchase. Here's the machine, Breville Barista Express BES870. As you saw in the photos, it's in fairly good condition. It is used, obviously, so you will have scratches mainly around the front. Got a dent here and about a 4 centimeter scratch over here, but I wouldn't be too worried about it. This is standard wear and tear for these machines. And the most important part is the functionality. This machine is fully functional. Like I told you, it was serviced yesterday by myself, so absolutely no issues. I've actually given it a good clean. I've recalibrated the grinder for you, and in this video I'll be doing a double shot of coffee and making it into a latte, so that I can show you how to use the machine and actually set it up for you, so that when you receive the machine, it's ready to go. So when you first turn on the machine, it will take about a minute to turn on and warm up. You'll see the buttons light up when it's ready to go. It is ready to go because the boiler is up to temperature, but it's good to warm up the entire machine. And what I mean by that, it's mainly the portafilter and the group head. These need to be nice and warm for you to get a nice hot cup of coffee. So what you can do to warm it up is one of two, or both if you want. Let it sit for around 10 or 20 minutes in this mode, just to let that boiler heat transfer into the top lid, so you can actually put your cups over here and they'll get nice and warm. And the same applies to the group head and the portafilter. In 10 or 20 minutes, these will be nice and warm. But if you're in a hurry, you can warm it up by running a blank shot, and that just means no coffee in the handle. No coffee in the handle, and pressing a double shot. So you can do this once or twice, it's up to you. It doesn't have to do it twice. I'm just going to test the single button for you. It should work fine, of course. There we go. So my cup is nice and hot now, and the same is for the group head and the portafilter. So I'm going to take it out. Make sure it's nice and dry before you start grinding the coffee. This is the double basket. The machine also comes with a single. This takes 18 grams of ground coffee, so I'm going to dose that much into the portafilter using my scale. And I changed the grind size just yesterday to grind size number 6. So I'm just going to get rid of the first 2 seconds because this is old coffee grounds. You don't have to do this step, I just like to do it for consistency. Because the machine stores about 2 to 4 grams of coffee inside. So every time you change the grind size, make sure you have the grinder running while you change the grind size. And also get rid of that 2 seconds after, because it will be a mix of the old grounds and the new. So using the scale, I'm going to try to set up these settings for you to give you a 18 gram dose. So grind size at number 6, like I said. If the coffee is too coarse, you want to make it finer by adjusting this. If it's too fine, you want to make it coarser. So I'm going to leave it at 6 as I think it's in the right ballpark. Grind amount, this is how long the grinder will grind for. So I'll keep it at 12 o'clock and see how much that gives me. And this is the selection for a single or a double. So let's put it on double. Okay, it looks like it's a bit too much. So when I'm taking it out, it's spilling. So that tells me I need to dial this back. I'm going to put it to the least setting. Let's see how much this was. 18.3, so not too bad after I've removed the excess. So I'll keep it at 10 o'clock and I'll let you figure that out. A nice way to know if you have the correct dose is to just, if you don't have a scale, put in your coffee and then grab your tamper. So let's double check that we have the correct dose. Yeah, that's fine. So when you tamp the coffee down, make sure you apply nice even pressure so that it's not like wonky or at an angle. And you'll notice now that we have 18 grams, you'll notice that I can't tamp deeper than this depth. So the silver part on the tamper is sort of a guide to tell you after you tamped, this is the depth that the tamper should go to. It's like if you're in a hurry or if you don't want to use the scale, you can just look at the depth and you know that you have the correct dose if it goes this deep, approximately. That's what it looks like from the side, and it's like a nice even surface. I'm going to clean the edges and lock it in. So let's lock it in at the center. We don't have to go all the way to the right. It seems to hold pressure at the center position. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this hot water. You also have hot water tap. The hot water tap you can use for making long black coffees, tea bags, warming up cups. In my case, I like to use it to dissolve my sugar. Just like we measured the ground coffee going into the spout, we want to measure the espresso coming out of the, just like we put in 18 grams, and we measured that coffee going into the handle, we want to measure what comes out of the handle. So for an 18 gram dose, you want to double it, so you want to get 36 grams of liquid espresso from that 18 gram dose of ground coffee. Again, I'm going to use a scale. That's a basic ratio that most people use, a 2-to-1 ratio. You don't have to follow the numbers really, you just have to do what makes the coffee taste right. And I think starting with the right dose and the right ratio is a good start. And you can go on from there. So I'm going to aim for 36 grams into this cup. Aiming for that to happen in between 20 to 30 seconds. So these buttons over here, they're programmable, so you can make them as long or as short as you want. Again, I'm going to try to make the double into about 36 grams, plus or minus a bit. It doesn't have to be precise. And hopefully that will happen in 20 to 30 seconds. If it happens quicker than 20 seconds, that means the coffee grounds are too coarse, so I'm going to make them finer. If it happens in longer than 30 seconds, then that's too fine of a grind size, so I'm going to make it coarser by one number and try again. That's how I usually dial in my machines, and it gets easier with time. And most of the time, if you're using the same bean, you don't have to do this twice. So you can do this for the first time you get the machine, using a certain bean, for example, and you can keep those settings. You can keep that grind size, grind amount, etc. So I'll show you how to program the buttons. Firstly, you press the program, and you press the button you want to be programming. So in this case the double, I'm going to press it and then I'm going to see the coffee come out, and then I'm going to stop it when I'm happy with the amount that it gives me, and it'll remember that amount. I'm going to timer it as well. Hopefully the flow will be nice and smooth, and the pressure should be around 12 o'clock if we have everything nice and dialed in. But it's a bit quicker than that, so it's just around 11 o'clock. So this is a quick shot. I'm going to stop it right there. That was not too bad, that was 22 seconds. But still a touch too quick, I would say. 41 grams. Yeah, that's alright, but it's a touch too quick. So what I would do next, I would try grind size number 5, because at the moment we're at grind size number 6. I would try grind size number 5 and see how you go. I won't be doing that because obviously different beans will have different settings, so you may be getting a bean that requires grind size number 8 or grind size number 4. I just recommend that you go one step at a time. Don't go too fine, don't go all the way to the 1, because I think at level 1 or maybe level 2 the burrs are practically touching each other, so they might damage if you go all the way to the finest setting when you don't need to. But I will say keep it at number 6 and see how you go. This is a decent cup of coffee, I would say, and 40 grams, not too bad. We had some good crema, but yeah, it was a bit too quick because the pressure didn't reach 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and also the flow wasn't as smooth as I was hoping it would be. But that's okay. I'm not using the freshest beans in the world. I'm using Aldi beans. They're pretty much the only supermarket bean that I would use. I would avoid Victoria, Coles, Woolworths. All those brands are garbage. Sorry. Yeah, Aldi's the only supermarket bean I tend to use. Otherwise, just opt for freshly roasted coffee from the cafe or a local roaster. That's the best. Okay. Use the coffee. I'm gonna knock it into a knockbox. You don't absolutely need a knockbox for these because the machine has a valve that dries the coffee and makes it really easy to knock off. So you can knock it off into the sink or better yet the garbage can or garbage bin. But if you do need a knockbox, I do have one to sell. After I knock off the coffee, I'm gonna press the double just to rinse. This is gonna rinse your group head and the oil filter. Great, so that's nice and clean. Maybe once a day or every other day, you just grab a tissue and wipe the group head. You can also use the brush for this. The machine comes with a brush as well. This will just get rid of the coffee grounds that usually build up around the area. This will keep your group head seal nice and fresh. Yeah, the group head seal is in very good condition. So you don't need to force it all the way to the right. Usually only halfway is more than enough. Maybe over time you will have to push it all the way to the right to get a good seal, but for now it's more than sufficient to keep it in the middle. What's next? Yeah, let's do the milk now. So I'm going to turn on the frother. It'll take about 10 seconds and it'll spurt some water as usual. I'm going to fill my jug with cold milk about halfway. Once you hear the pump running, turn it off and turn it back on. Make sure you put the wand at an angle and keep the tip of the wand close to the surface of the milk. So it's going to be spinning the milk and also aerating it because the wand is close to the surface. I'm going to stop when it's too hot to touch. So right about there. The machine will now cool down and it will go back to espresso mode. Very important, after it cools down, give it a purge. Just to get rid of any milk on the inside. And also give it a wipe with a wet cloth. This is important because obviously if you don't do this step it will clog and you won't get any milk, any steam. And also it gets really hot obviously, so the milk will stick and it will be really hard to remove if you wait. So the sooner you clean it, the easier it is to clean. And the more hygienic it is obviously, so yeah. That's how you make a latte on the Breville Barista Express. I'm just gonna mix up my espresso. You can do your espresso first or your milk first. I believe if you like hot coffees, making your milk first is better because the espresso doesn't sit out for too long. But that's fine. I like doing the espresso first in these videos. After I've steamed my milk, I'm gonna give it a swirl, knock it on the table for a couple of times. You do this until the surface is nice and smooth. The surface of the milk, that is. Almost like wet paint is what I usually aim for. And beautiful. It's more of a cappuccino, I'd say, because I've added so much foam. But it looks beautiful and it's a very smooth texture. Here's the final product. I was aiming for a heart, but I'm not a barista, so I don't usually do latte art. It looks beautiful, and I'm sure you'll be able to do much better coffees with it after some practice. It's a very easy machine to learn on. And yeah, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And thanks for your purchase. See you next week.